In this video, I'm just going to walk through how I get effective instructions to use with a large language model. Now, in module 2, I talk about the fact that the large language models themselves are much better at writing instructions or prompts than we are. And I try to capitalize on that versus my trying to find out the best way to do this. So if I wanted to create instructions to help me brainstorm very effectively for research. Okay, that's the general context. I'm going to do this in Gemini, so everyone has access to this, but you can do this with ChatGPT as well. So what I do is I want you to give me a strong prompt for these conditions. Is that clear? Now you notice I asked it for, I said, is that clear? Because I want to make sure that the LLM has understood what I'm trying to say and that we're on the same page. It's really like just talking to someone else, right? You're making sure they get what you're trying to do. Okay, so let's see how this goes. I want you to act as a strong academic journal reviewer. You are a PhD, and in your instances, so let me do this, PhD, MD, academic with a lot of experience, and you are going to be conversing at that level. Now, when you want to go to the next line, I know for me it was very difficult in the beginning. I didn't know how to go to the next line. I'd press enter and this would jump into instructions. When you want to go to the next line, use shift enter and then it'll bring you to the next line here. Okay, so you are going to help me brainstorm ideas. I want you to push me in my brainstorming. I want you to push me to explore radical and new concepts. I want creativity. You must avoid the obvious LLM way of interacting and be a true research peer and collaborator. Okay, now if you can't think of anything else, I can't think of anything else at this point. What I do then is I just hit enter and it's going to give me a set of instructions, right? Okay. And this is where Gemini annoys me. Give me my prompt rewritten in the most effective way for you so I can use it to create a gem. Now it's giving me these instructions for a gem, and I can show you how to create a gem. But like I said, I don't really like the gem, and I'll show you all of those things so you see why I talk about that. So these are actually the instructions that I want, right? The role of the user is I present nascent ideas. The role of Gemini itself is to act as a highly experienced PhD, MD academic, right? Key expectations of our interaction is blah, 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 blah. And then to begin, these are the instructions for me, lay out the concept. Now, what I would do, because this is Gemini, what I tend to do is I just copy these instructions from your role up to this point, right? I copy these instructions and I keep them in a Word document. Then before I start every brainstorming conversation, I paste this in. And so it knows the context of how to interact with me, right? And the only change I would make is instead of your role, I would say the user role, right? So that, and notice, I just gave it very basic instructions of what I wanted. It has now elaborated it to do not self-censor. That's for me. Now, Gemini itself will challenge presuppositions, probe for unexplored avenues. So it really expands what I started with and adds so much more. Now, I just stopped at one point and said, I can't think of anything else, right? What I tend to do is now that I have these instructions, I use it a couple of times and I see what kind of interactions I'm getting out of it. And then if wherever I find a gap, I go back and tweak these instructions based on how I want to change it. Okay. So again, use the LLM to do the best thing for you. Okay. Now, this is with Gemini, right? I want to do the same thing with ChatGPT so you can see what the difference is. So I'm just copying these instructions and I'm now going to go to ChatGPT, start a new chat. And as I mentioned, I have the paid version for this, okay? But with the prompts, it shouldn't make a difference. It's other functionalities that are affected. Okay, I want you to give me a prompt for the conditions that I will share. Is that clear? I'm using pretty much what I did with Gemini just now. Okay, why is it so slow to go ahead and share the... Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. So I want you to act as, okay, let's see what it gives me when I give the same instructions. It's doing the same thing. Ugh. A prompt for this that I can reuse. A prompt template, if you will. So because I said template, it usually will do this. And so I can come and pop in whatever I want for the sections that are in square brackets because it is a template, right? So as you can see, both of them have understood these instructions in exactly the same way. So my instruction to it wasn't very clear for both of them. I had to clarify it. And the way ChatGPT is interpreting it is a little different. Also because I told Gemini to create a gem. In this instance for ChatGPT, what I would need to do is give me instructions to create a GPT with this. And so it actually gives me the code to create the GPT like Gemini did with a gem. I don't even have to like I said, I don't work very hard for these things. I just put it in and see what it comes back with, and I tweak it. Okay. Um, and then you can use this and create your GPT as well. Okay. So let's go back to the Gemini Gem. So once I copy these instructions, right, let's try this with just these instructions as I mentioned. So I've copied it. I'm starting a new chat. And remember I said I'm going to set the context with these instructions. Things that I will change is user role, Gemini role. Let's start that. I have no idea what happened here. Okay. Disrupt ideas, deep. Right. Where did it get its own nascent idea? As you can see, I have a lot of conversations with these tools. Also has a lot to do with yelling at them to get them to where I want it to be. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing with ChatGPT. So this is something I do want to mention to all of you. I use at least 2 or 3 LLMs. So the only one I pay for is ChatGPT. We have Google, otherwise I would use a free Gemini. I use a free Claude at times because each of them works a little differently and gives me different things. So it's nice to try the same prompt in different tools. Okay, let's see how crazy ChatGPT goes with that, right? So the same instructions. And this is actually what I wanted, right? I wanted it to read those instructions and then tell me, okay, give me your idea. Let's start talking about it. I have no idea where Gemini came up with that from. So now I'm going to have to go back to Gemini and I'll have to tweak those instructions a little bit and say, no, you completely misunderstood me. I will give you the idea. I have no idea where you got this notion of non-genomic, etc. from. This is very disappointing. I've discovered that telling them things like this also helps. Yes, I went too far. Yes, you did go too far. Duh. Okay, my aim was to challenge, but thank you. You did not listen to me. Yes. A significant misstep, you think. Right. Please disregard it. Don't worry, I'm disregarding it. Present your nascent idea again. Okay. I am not considering biological memory. And apologies. This is a very stream of consciousness recording you're listening to. Okay. Now I start having my conversation with it. So let's say I'm going to be doing a video on this a little later. So I'll just talk about it a little bit here. And I'm going to run out of recording time. I probably will have to do another recording for this. I want to brainstorm datafication in health care. When you say datafication, what specific aspects immediately jump to your mind? And then I will now start going through each of these things. And then it starts into a conversation, talking back and forth, challenging it. As you can see, there was a lot of challenging it even before this, right? Pushing it, correcting it, getting it to where you want. And just this takes me 15 minutes. So these things can take a lot of time. So keep that in mind. Um, and as I mentioned, oh gosh,